What is up, guys? Frosty Osty 0232 here for another Frosty Features. The final member of our Gamma team that is coming to Marvel Strike Force is the totally awesome Hulk, Brawn. So, we are going to talk about Brawn today. What Frosty Features is a comic book background. I upload these to YouTube, record them on Twitch. Comic book background following the Marvel 616 storyline in the comics, not necessarily the MCU. I don't really personally consider the MCU 616, even though they claim to be it. Whatever, it's a whole thing. We're talking about comic books. The whole purpose of these videos is when you get a new character in Marvel Strike Force, sometimes it's fun to know who you're using as a character, who you're playing as. So I like to give that background. So I'm Frosty Osty, and we're gonna get rolling on Frosty Features Brawn. Brawn! Name, Amadeus Cho. This was a person that was heavily requested. People talked about it all the time to bring him. People were very excited to have him come into Marvel Strike Force. And shout out to my boy Valley Flyin', another Marvel Strike Force streamer. This is actually him as a character. Everybody knows it. Everybody's seen it. 100%. Brawn is Valley Flyin'. So check out Valley Flyin' over on Twitch and YouTube. After you finish watching this YouTube video, of course. Ha 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 ha. Alright, first appearance, Amazing Fantasy, Volume 2, number 15, 2005. For those of you who aren't comic book people, I just want to throw out there, the volumes, the way that works is, when they do a new volume, they completely restart a story, right? So Amazing Spider-Man, when you first see Peter Parker back in like the 60s, Volume 2 may have started way later, and it's kind of starts everything over, right? Most of the time. So Amazing Fantasy, Volume 1 is when you actually see Spider-Man introduced. Volume 2, we get the Amazing Hulk. So yeah, all that to say, Amadeus Cho has only been around since 2005, which is pretty crazy. He is a newer character anyway. Powers and abilities. He has Hulk's powers, but more controlled. So, Amadeus Cho's a super genius, high level intellect, very similar to Bruce Banner. When he first becomes Brawn, he has actual regular Hulk powers, where he, as he gets more angry, he scales up. He has the exact same powers as Hulk, but Amadeus Cho has most of his storylines are him learning to focus and control his Hulk, right? So what you're seeing here, and what you often see, is a smaller, skinnier, slimmer Brawn, and it's because he essentially achieves Professor Hulk form a lot faster than Bruce Banner did. And Bruce Banner kind of goes and comes on the Professor Hulk form, and he kind of sticks with his kind of big guns, whereas Brawn more or less will stay kind of level-headed for the most part, stay in the same kind of area, and if he does get angry, he will grow, but typically he just stays in this form that we see here pictured. Aliases: Brawn Hammer, Hulk, and Kid Hulk. So he does go under the moniker of Hulk for a while. We'll talk about that here in a bit, but he picks up the Hulk mantle while Bruce Banner is dead. So there's that. Affiliations: Champion, most notably the Champions. He's going to be in this Gamma team, even though there's not really a Gamma. There's Gamma Flight and stuff like that, but there isn't really a Gamma team necessarily that he's associated with. I don't know. Anyway, Champions is the main one. Red Room, the Illuminati, and the God Squad. So yeah, he deals directly with the Illuminati through a indirect manner, and then he is also responsible for putting together a second God Squad, which is essentially an Avengers team made up solely of godlike characters like Thor and Zeus and Hercules, etc. Background: first generation Korean American. His parents migrated over from South Korea, and he was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona, which is pretty cool, which also kind of puts him over there where Hulk was doing all his testing. Do you see where this is going? No, it's not really where it goes. That's the thing about the 2000s, is they flipped a lot of the copying. So his story is a lot more unique than, like, because we talked about, check out Frosty Features Abomination. We talked about Emil Blonsky and he becomes Abomination pretty much the same way Hulk becomes Hulk, right? And Thunderbolt Ross is sort of similar for Red Hulk. Check out Frosty Future's Red Hulk. I like to plug my own videos. Isn't that awesome? Anyway, so he has a kind of a different way he goes about becoming who he is, and we'll talk about that. So who died? His parents. You can't be a superhero in Marvel Comics without somebody dying. So his parents dies because of a situation called Brain Fight, which brought him wins and losses. So what this was is he was born, he's a twin, he has a twin sister, Maddie Cho. They are both super intelligent people. Amadeus kind of showing off a little bit more, shining a little bit more brightly than his sister. So anyway, this Brain Fight thing comes up, and essentially it's a quiz show. And it's like a quiz show, and what it is you go on and you compete against other people, and what is going on is this guy named Pythagoras, and his name is Pythagoras, and he has a company called Excello, and what he's doing is he is the 6th smartest man in the world, right? So a big thing in the Marvel universe is who is the smartest person on Earth. The numbers change quite often, but he's the 6th smartest man in the world, and what he's trying to do is track down other people that are of his intellect or close to it, so that he can kill them. He doesn't say that though. For Brain Fight, he says they win a $5,000 prize, and they get the title of 7th smartest man in the world. So Amadeus Cho goes, and he easily wins the competition, but then Pythagoras bombs his house, and luckily him and his sister weren't there, but his parents were, and they die. So he ends up on the run. He gets the title of 7th smartest man in the world. He ends up on the run, and he ends up running into a little coyote cub, and he names it Kirby. And he ends up on the run with him and his coyote. And he ends up this is how he runs into the Hulk, and he meets the Hulk, and they become friends. He does not have power, so a lot of Amadeus Cho's story, actually, he does not have his Hulk powers. He gets them later, more or less in the back half of his actual timeline, which is pretty cool. So he legitimately just kind of goes off of his own smarts. Yeah. Planet Totally Awesome Hulk fighting warlords. So, after he becomes the Hulk, after we're gonna talk about how he becomes Hulk in a minute, but after he becomes Hulk, Hulk ends up dying. So the way he becomes Hulk, we'll just do it now. We'll just knock this sucker out wherever standing. So, Hulk there's a new form of nanites. So, Amadeus Cho is extremely tech savvy, does a lot of hacking, he does a lot of working with robots, and specifically nanites. And there is a new form of radiation that Hulk gets, and it's poisoning him. So what Amadeus Cho does is he uses nanites to kind of help take some of that radiation off of the Hulk, and he puts it onto himself, and that's how he becomes the Hulk. 100. So he essentially takes some of the Hulk's power and becomes the Hulk, trying to help him out. He tries to separate himself from the Hulk to essentially to keep his rage in check. So he does it so he can kind of try to learn and teach himself how to, keep a level head, whatever. So he separates himself from the Hulk, and then the superhuman civil war happens, and Hawkeye kills the Hulk, which that kind of freaked him out even more. So instead of just a separation, he purposefully exiles himself from everybody else to make sure that he can keep his Hulk in check. So his whole thing is trying to find that perfect balance, that inner peace, that being able to control that rage monster that is Hulk, right? So with Planet Totally Awesome Hulk, it's not actually called that, but what happens is, so Bruce Banner dies after the radiation kills him, and he becomes Brawn, he becomes the Hulk. Bruce Banner dies, and then there is a beacon that comes out where Sakaar is looking for. Sakaar is where Hulk went and planet Hulked, right? He liberated the planet and he became their ultimate warrior, whatever. And they're looking for the Hulk to come kind of represent them because a warlord has kind of taken over. The warlord Ophelia has taken over, and they need somebody to come represent them. So Brawn, Amadeus Cho, goes in Hulk's place. So when he goes there, he has the very similar experience to Hulk. He's never enslaved, but he fights for the people, like a liberation front, to fight him, and he learns his control and gets his Professor Hulk-esque stat by going and kind of reliving what Hulk did on Planet Hulk in the same way. So he goes and he fights warlords and he reliberates Planet Sakaar and then returns to Earth after, very similar to his predecessor. So relatives, we have Helen and Phil Cho, his parents, who died in the Pythagoras explosion of his house. Maddie Cho, his sister, so she lived, he thought she was dead, but actually she was kidnapped by Pythagoras' Excel Corp. And so it was only recently revealed that she's still alive. And Bruce Banner is his friend, Bruce Banner being the Hulk. Notable events, World War Hulk. So Planet Hulk happened. That's when Bruce Banner, the Illuminati was like, yo, Bruce Banner, the Hulk is too much of a danger to Earth. We need to get him off Earth. We need to put him somewhere where he can't hurt us, because he's too hard to control. So the Illuminati puts him on a ship and sends him away. And in doing so, Amadeus Cho finds out about it. What he ends up doing is he hacks into the he hears rumors about the Illuminati, he hacks into their database and finds out that happens. Bruce Banner is a good friend of his, so he's like, yo, we definitely should not be doing that. So he calls Mr. Fantastic and lets him know that he knows that happened. And what he does is he finds out through the hack that Hulk isn't where he's supposed to be. So he lets Mr. Fantastic know that, and he's like, oh man, he's probably coming back for revenge. So Amadeus Cho sets out to make a team to try to convince Hulk not to fight. They're on Hulk's side, but essentially they're just trying to calm him down, right? Because the whole thing in World War Hulk is that he comes and he pretty much gets revenge on everybody, because he went and essentially the big green monster Hulk learned to fight and he learned to think, right? So instead of it just being crazy and him just throwing arms, it's him actually knowing what he's doing. So he's a much bigger threat. So Amadeus Cho, Brawn, he tries to put together a team to stop this from happening just by kind of talking down Bruce. So he gets She-Hulk at this time is depowered. He ends up getting her powers back first, and he's like, hey, I want to try to get this team together. And she's like, nah, I'm gonna go after Stark legally. So she starts suing, like, they weren't allowed to send my cousin away. I'm gonna get him this way. And he's like, oh crap. But he ends up getting Angel from the X-Men, Hercules, and Namora, which is Namor's cousin, all to kind of be on this team. And they approach, when Hulk gets in, they're like, oh man, don't do this. We'll help you out whatever you need, but like, we don't want to kill the whole world. And Hulk's like, nah, I don't need your help. And then S.H.I.E.L.D. starts attacking, and Thunderbolt Ross starts attacking, and Hulk's like, okay, this is a lot, I need your help. And then so that sort of kind of fails, and then S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of recognizes that Amadeus Cho is kind of doing the right thing, even though it's like really tough or whatever. So S.H.I.E.L.D. uses his team to evacuate masses. So just go and like get people out of like these dangerous situations while Hulk is fighting all these people. And then when everything is said and done and Hulk is defeated, S.H.I.E.L.D. arrests Amadeus Cho and puts him in bars for his attempt to help Hulk. So that's kind of how that kind of turns out. But he plays a huge role in this, all being depowered. He literally just uses his smarts, right? So as Totally Awesome Hulk, he's essentially a cocky teenage Hulk who's super smart. Before he's Hulk, he literally just uses his mind to get around and do these things, which I find really cool. It's a neat thing about him. Next, the God Squad. So Amadeus Cho, Brawn, as Brawn, he is responsible for bringing the God Squad 2 coming around. So he brings together a team to fight Amaterasu Mikaboshi. Hope I said that right. He is not actually an Amaterasu, but he takes that title just because of his back. But he is one of the main reasons why I want to talk about this is because in Frosty Features in a minute we'll do power scaling and stuff like that. But we do have multiversal enemies, and I don't talk about them very often. So this Amatsu Mikaboshi is technically a multiversal. He slowly eats the multiverse, right? So he's eating multiple realities. He's taking out Nexi and things like that slowly. So he is actually what we could consider a multiversal threat. He affects multiple dimensions at the same time, destroying them. So Amadeus Cho assembles the God Squad again. So this is God Squad 2.0. This includes Thor, Venus, Cersei, Damien Hartstrom, Silver Surfer, and Galactus. So Galactus is like, oh, this isn't good, and he is helping them out. So it's them trying to take down this Mikaboshi, and the thing about it, he is the god of evil. He in the greatest sense, he is actually the progenitor to symbiotes. So Null is the god of symbiotes. We all know and love Null. Essentially the god of Null would be this Mikaboshi, Amatsu Mikaboshi, right? So the gods, so they end up fighting him, but he's extraordinarily tough. I mean, you heard the team, right? You got Silver Surfer, you've got Thor, you've got Cersei, you've got some extraordinarily overpowered individuals, and they cannot take him. But luckily, the God Squad is not the only team around. So it is the God Squad, the Avengers, and Alpha Flight all team up, just a big old mass to fight him. And in the same time, Galactus and Amadeus Cho, Galactus and Brawn are working together. There is this thing called the Continuum, which is essentially a pocket dimension. So they are working on, while this fight's going on, Galactus and Amadeus Cho are working together. Giant, celestial, regular-sized, pseudo-mutated human working together on this machine that will transport Earth to the Continuum just in case the fight goes awry, right? Because originally what the God Squad was trying to prevent, God Squad number 1, was for the main Universe 616 being taken to the Continuum. Now they're trying to use it as a backup plan in case Mikaboshi eats that Nexus, or that reality, right? So, in all the fighting, those two are working together, quite an unlikely duo, but before they finish the project, they are able, God Squad, Avengers, and Alpha Flight are able to defeat Mikaboshi, and they banish him to the Continuum. So they put him in his own pocket dimension where he can't get out, and they were successful, and they didn't have to move Earth. So, really cool thing, really big thing, but I wanted to point it out because of I've had questions about we haven't had anybody in the multiversal category. Mikaboshi is the first person, or not the first person brought up, but he would be a multiversal threat. But in this case, let's talk about power level. So power scaling is true in comic books, maybe not so much MSF, but I like to point out kind of where people lie. So multiversal, we were just talking about Mikaboshi. Multiversal means you are a threat to your reality, not just your reality, but all realities at once. So him being able to devour things in a multi-dimensional situation, that makes him, he can end reality as we know it, right? In all realities at once. He is extraordinarily powerful. Very, very rare power level scaling. Universal. You can destroy your universe, maybe hop over and destroy another one. You could be a threat to all reality, but you have to put a lot more work into it than just doing it all in one go, right? Cosmic. You are strong enough to take out a planetary body, and because you can take out one planetary body, you can take out another one, maybe take out a solar system or a galaxy. Nuclear. You have the power of a nuclear bomb, right? So a lot of the Hulk family lives in here because they are powered literally by these nuclear experimentations. So nuclear power means you can take out a small city, or with enough effort, you can take out a planetary body, right? City's the most common power level in the Marvel universe. City is kind of where you see like Spider-Man and Daredevil. City means with your strength you can take out a brick wall, or you can run around, maybe take out a few walls, drop a building, maybe level a city block. And finally, for the sake of argument, we're going to talk about Greg. Greg is the undead Asgardian that Hela spawns in Marvel Strike Force, and for the sake of argument, we're putting him at human level. So if I had my trusty dusty screwdriver and a Red Bull, I could take out Greg, theoretically. Alright, so in the case of Amadeus Cho, he is a member of the Hulk family. He is gamma radiated and he scales just like the Hulk. The angrier he gets, the stronger he gets, putting him cozily next to the Hulk at the nuclear level. He, like the Hulk, is weaker when he is in his balanced state. That's actually how things like the Abomination and stuff can get the better of them, is they knocked him out fast enough. So I would definitely put Amadeus Cho I would put him a little bit below Hulk on the actual power scale, but still nice and cozy there in that nuclear level. Quite strong, has infinite scaling capabilities as far as strength is concerned. So that is Frosty Features Brawn. I hope that you all enjoyed it. Let me know what I missed in the comments, what you liked. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. I really appreciate it. I stream on Twitch every Sunday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time at the link above me. We have a good time, and I would love to see you on there. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so that's that. I hope everyone is excited for this Gamma team, and I hope that you all have a fantastic day. And most importantly, y'all, stay cool.